happy Sunday evening. A little time around the campfire for everybody tonight. Hey, Crystal's here. Gentleman's Nod is here. What are the odds of that? That's cool. We'll be right there, Chris. We invite everybody in, and I sing something to drive off the undesirables.
Nailed it.
Philip!
Yeah.
Hola, Philip. Hey, Chris is here. DE Razor Shaving.
Hey, everybody.
So we have a couple of surprises in store for you tonight, y'all. One of them has a little bit to do with this beautiful song from Bob Dylan and Adele. So we'll start our night here. When the rain is blowing in your face and the whole world is on your case, I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear, and there is no one there to dry your tears, I could hold you for a million years to make you feel my love. I know you haven't made your mind up yet, but I would never do you wrong. I've known it from the moment that we met. No doubt in my mind where you belong. I'd go hungry, I'd go black and blue, I'd go crawling down the avenue. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do to make you feel my love. The storms are raging on the rolling sea and on the highway of regret. The winds of change are blowing wild and free. You ain't seen nothing like me yet. I could make you happy, make your dreams come true. No, there's nothing that I wouldn't do. Go to the ends of the earth for you to make you feel my love. To make you feel my love. Ooh, to make you feel my love. So that little preamble was for a little announcement that we made on YouTube last week. But we went off the grid up to Sarah's family's cabin where she's been going on vacation since she was born. And I asked Sarah to marry me. She had a list of conditions and qualifications that I'm working my way through. It's over here. It's about 8 pounds.
But it was very sweet. It was fun. We were playing dominoes, which is a fun thing that my family has always done. And Marcus asked my parents, and they said yes. And it was super sweet.
Had to do the old-fashioned thing,
He did it the
y'all.
old-fashioned way. And Lainey was very sure that she could help. You know, she said yes, too. So
clear your calendars for May, perhaps. But yeah, y'all, this is going to be fun. And tonight, we continue our In Conversation series. The Barbershop is open late. We are here on Instagram Live. And our In Conversation series is an endeavor to celebrate our 1 year here on YouTube after we now have our feet a little bit wet into the hobby to talk to some of our favorite artisans and soap makers and community members about what they do and how they do it, and give y'all a chance to ask some questions and get to know these folks a little bit. I think we have finally found a world where you can meet your heroes, and all of these people that we've met in our In Conversation series are just the most wonderful, down-to-earth, artisans we could hope to meet. And some of them are filling orders for 40 units and some for 20,000. And they just all seem to have a similar sort of friendly, jovial nature.
Yeah, and they all have their own lane, which is super fun. Like, the more we get to know each artisan, there is a need for each of them in such different ways, which is so cool.
Except for Sean at McDuff's, who's just a jerk. Just a total jerk. No, he's not. I need my technical difficulties.
We do.
No, Sean's our favorite guy.
He's great.
So welcome in, y'all. If you have any questions for Gentlemen's Knot tonight, we are so excited. And we have to welcome Chris in with the actual Gentlemen's Nod. So, Chris, if you would request to join the live. And
hopefully Instagram works.
Yeah, Instagram. It kind of works. And we will show you. We will greet Chris with the Gentlemen's Nod. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
On 3, 1, 2.
Yeah, you don't need this hat. No.
There we go. Welcome in, buddy.
Hello. You need like a, old school, like a, bowler or, something like that. Yeah. Not this hat. I had this hat on earlier. Obviously, I'm a Cowboys fan, and my wife's like, "You sure you want to wear that?" I was like, "Well, I'm not a fan anymore because they lost. They played terrible."
Oh, no.
So,
That's funny.
Oh, very cool. Thank you for being here and spending this time with us. And I know it's a little nerve-wracking to go dead live on the air, but
we'll be nice.
Thank you for being here and for all these degenerates to talk to you tonight and ask some questions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally appreciate it. 100%.
And, we went and raided our collection of the few Gentlemen's Nods that
we
have it so that we can talk to you about
nice.
it tonight. But, a lot of what we do in this conversation series, we find, is kind of get to know you a little bit along with the soap. So we have some questions. We're going to start here. Do you want to start at the top?
Yes. So what was the best part about growing up in Southern California? If you had to pick one, I know it's hard.
Oh, wow. Growing up in Southern California, it's interesting. There's different areas in Southern California are also very different. So, I mean, I have memories from, San Diego early on in my earlier childhood. I have memories of Orange County a little bit later on. I moved up to LA, more like the Valley. For grad school, and it's all of them are so different. They all have their different vibes. I miss the ocean 100%. Is probably the biggest thing I miss. For many years I was a surfer, Southern California surfer boy. So definitely miss that. In the Valley, it's really interesting. So now I'm going to totally draw a blank on the name of the movie. Oh, how can I forget? La La Land.
Right. Okay.
So, what I loved about that movie is it showed the sort of the romance of LA. You think of LA and you think of the concrete jungle and you think of the traffic and the smog and all the terrible things, right? I mean, there's also not great things about LA, but that movie actually did a good job of showing the romance of LA. So there's things to like about, LA too. And then Orange County in general and San Diego particularly San Diego is a little bit more of a relaxed vibe, especially the beach communities, which is really nice, especially when you talk about Ocean Beach. So, I went to San Clemente a lot, and they're very chill places for sure.
Right.
Yeah. I actually went to college in Southern California, so I lived in Orange County. I had friends in San Clemente and everywhere too, so it was fun to know that
where did you go to school?
I went to Cal State Fullerton, so really close to in Orange County.
Gotcha.
I worked at Disneyland for a while, so I was kind of all over.
And I would take my singers for a week every year to Bellflower, Rosemead, and East LA. So I've spent months of my life in Los Angeles. So we are giant fans. Is there anything about your childhood that would have been a tip-off that you were going to be a perfumer someday?
So afterwards, in hindsight, I was actually just having this conversation because I think I told you guys. So my dad's in town.
Right.
I haven't seen my dad in 10 years. I tried to get him on, and he's like, nope, no way. But anyway, he's in town, and I have a very I don't want to give a lot of details away, but I have a project coming up for next year that's really personal, and it involves like my first scent memory.
Oh, wow.
And what's interesting about that is it's actually probably one of my first actual memories too. So I think that it's a little bit strange that maybe the first memory that I have is connected to scent. Maybe not, I don't know, but I was 2 years old.
Wow.
And then speaking with, I talked to my grandmother about it, and my grandma informed me that she actually has, it's a garden, I'll give that away, but she actually has pictures of me in this garden.
Oh, cool.
And I was just shocked to learn that. I was like, okay, so number one, that was a real memory. Number two,
Right.
number two, there's pictures to prove it. So actually, that particular trip. So, and this is in Canada. So, yeah.
Oh, wow, cool.
Wow, very cool.
There's fun things to come.
Yeah.
So
So-
in that sense, you know, I think that's interesting now looking back, but through the years, not necessarily, other than like scent has always been an important, you know, an important sense for me. Not, you know, obviously for most people, vision is probably the most important. However, scent is, I mean, got to be right up there too. Yeah.
Yeah,
so.
we talk about that too.
Yeah.
We were always impressed getting shave soaps that it really does. It helped us remind us to indulge in the scent of smell and using that.
And sometimes you'll smell an homage where somebody got your grandpa's aftershave exactly right, and I'll start to tear up.
Yeah.
Like it just brings back that flood of memories. The only thing interesting in that man's bathroom was the bottle of Old Spice. I smelled the original Shelton formula. It was like, whoa, that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it brings back so many things for so many people, and it's so undescribable. Like,
yeah, and you don't. I mean, you don't need necessarily anything else. I mean, it just. I mean,
Right.
you don't have to see anything,
Right.
hear anything. It just a scent. I mean, even like walking by somewhere and you smell something, and you're like, wait, what just happened? Where am I? Like, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Wait, what?
It can totally captivate all of your senses. You know?
So true.
So, yeah.
So for our next question, now that we've indulged you growing up in Southern California, was there like a big culture shock or something when you moved to Nebraska, like on the other side of things?
You know, it wasn't huge because it was actually my decision.
Okay.
So, like, my wife's family is from Nebraska.
right.
We met in San Diego, but she's from Nebraska, and she lived a lot of her like growing up years in central Nebraska, which is really like small.
Okay.
And so she had that experience. I really after grad school, I mean, part of it was we had a home in the valley, and we were just thinking, okay, if we start a family and you're not working anymore, how are we going to afford to keep our house? Like,
Yeah, California, all rough. We get it.
so that was part of it, and just thinking, you know, it's, you know, certainly quieter, maybe a little bit of a slower pace of life out here. So those were kind of factors, and then her whole family was kind of out here in the same area, so that was nice. Families, you know, a big deal. So there was that aspect as well. But coming here, not a ton. I mean, it was smaller and certainly less traffic, which is nice. But Omaha has a huge metro area too. Like, and we're kind of on the outskirts of Omaha in a city called Elkhorn. And it's, I mean, you know, my dad was kind of shocked coming here that, you know, we have a Bentley dealership. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like, yeah.
Wow.
So,
Okay. That's pretty
Yeah.
on the map. Yeah.
Not just a gas station and a stoplight.
no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, okay, here's a question I'm really curious about, because part of our mission is to help bring newbies into the hobby. because it's kind of a hobby where we're like, we don't understand why people haven't been doing this forever. So when you were a manager at the Art of Shaving store and a newbie would come in off the street, what would bring them in?
So normally what would bring them in is just curiosity. They're like, there's an entire store dedicated. That's what they come in. They go, there's an entire store dedicated to shaving. This is weird. like what is this? And that, I mean, that would come in and I mean, that would be the question. Like, what is this? Like, you know, is this like a thing? But that was, you know, I think a lot of hobbyists will resonate with this, but like when, you know, I'm still obviously passionate about the hobby and the community, or otherwise I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing for a living now. But when I was really new into the hobby, I was sort of an evangelist in a sense too. Like, so I would go over and do live shaves in friends' garages. Like we'd set up like a table and chairs, and I'd have like a bowl and like do like live shaves in, you know, for a group of friends in the garage. Like, and what's funny is like they would actually invite wives over too. So like the wives would like hang out in the house, you know, do whatever, and then a bunch of guys in the garage, and we do this, and they were all intrigued about it too. But you know, I did that kind of stuff too, and just trying to get other people into it that haven't heard about it, and yeah,
it's like,
they're interested. To
ladies do have Tupperware parties. This is kind of the same
for sure.
idea. Brilliant.
For sure.
Why not?
But you know, it is something like that. I mean, I think if you ask all the folks here tonight, it's something common in our experience where it wasn't just like a curiosity. It was somebody went, here, come here, I'll show you.
Yeah.
And we got to like see it or experience it for the first time. I think it's really important.
And actually that's probably one of the things. So our store, even though like foot traffic was the lowest, we were actually one of the best performing stores in the nation.
Oh wow.
And it was really that. It was, we did a better job at showing people than almost anyone else.
Right.
And I turned all of the people that worked for me into passionate, like they're all like, they became hobbyists, like all of them. So
Right.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So for you, what is the gentleman's nod, or how does that lead into your, name?
It's one of our favorite names in the whole wet shaving world. What is the gentleman's knot? How did you find that name?
Right.
So it is exactly that. I mean, kind of what, so you have two guys walking down the street, different sides of the street. There's really, nobody else walking around. If they make eye contact, what do?
Right.
I mean, they nod, but it's like, and even, I guess in a sense, you could say the same thing, probably more, in a different era, but, a man and a woman,
Right.
tipping his hat and, and those kind of things. But really it's just kind of a, mutual acknowledgement and kind of a sign of respect. It doesn't necessarily have to be to, two men. I mean, it can be,
Right.
just two human beings.
Right.
So it's really that's what it is. Just
I saw a German Shepherd pull one off the other day. It was amazing.
You what?
I saw a German Shepherd pull one off the other day. It was amazing. But it's something that you never think about it until you've named it. But it's like, that is exactly what you do when you pass somebody in the street. It's not a high five. That's really what it is it's a sort of acknowledgement, and a sign of respect towards another human being in its like, at its core level. So, yeah. Right. When we lost our last puppy, I had a dream about her one night out of nowhere, and I had a dream about this one. It was pretty wild. I am a man of faith. I believe in my crazy dreams. Paul McCartney dreamed up the melody to Yesterday in a dream. Would you tell us about the dream that inspired Gentleman's Knot?
So it really came down to, first of all, it was being a passionate hobbyist. I kind of, it grew from, being a passionate hobbyist to getting really deep down the rabbit hole really, really fast with I did some like vintage razors, but I had tons of brushes, and like, sadly, brushes that I no longer have that are like, vintage, that I'll actually never probably see again, because they're so rare. I just kind of got deeper and deeper into it, and I did, and then when we moved to Omaha, I noticed there was an opening. They're opening an Art of Shaving, and I, applied there and ended up working there for a while. But then it's not that I sort of lost any passion for the industry. It was just that I saw a lot of the decisions that they made at the very top that I questioned because I felt like they weren't really listening to their customers. And I mean, you can see where that turned out. But and I also, as in sales manager, I wanted to impact the industry more. So I still had that desire to really be involved and really impact the industry more. And it was my 38th birthday. It was the morning of my 38th birthday. I woke up with a extremely detailed dream. It was like almost like we're talking like business plan level. And I'm an economics major with a secondary professional certificate in finance. But I woke up with this extremely detailed dream about which products they would be, the distribution plan, like everything. It was like just wild. So that literally the next day, I put a soap lab in my basement and started learning how to make soap. And that was when, I was 38 years old. So now I'm 46, and I like to think I still look the same, but I don't know.
Wow, believe in your dreams, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So with 3 of your recent scents based on Spain, Ethiopia, and Japan, does your body share that same wanderlust as your nose does? Like, do you like to travel, or have you been to all those places?
So I absolutely love to travel. We let our passports expire, unfortunately. We did finally get them back this year, so we plan to travel more. We just went to Mexico. We just got back from Mexico, which was fantastic for our honeymoon, 14-year honeymoon. So I haven't gotten to travel as much or as extensively as I'd like. I've been to Germany. I've been to London. I've been to Ukraine twice. My wife's been to like Israel, Jordan, several places in the Middle East. And so we have traveled a little bit. Hold on a second. I got to get these dogs out of here. They're going crazy. So we have 2 pugs, and now,
Hi, Brad.
now we just decided to foster another one. So now we have 3 pugs. And like,
what are their names?
So this guy, when we got him, his name was Gus. The shelter wanted to name him, wanted us to name him Grady, or change his name to Grady because he's a foster. So it's kind of their choice in a sense. But I have a feeling my wife's not going to let this guy go. So I'm like, if we're keeping him, I'm like, I want to name him Hank. So.
Oh, that's a good Hank. I can see it.
Yeah.
He looks like a Hank.
Yeah. So. No, I totally forgot what. So the traveling.
Yes.
I have not been to Japan. That was more. I was a huge. I read it's not really a biography. It's a novel, but it has a lot of biographical information about Musashi from Yuji Yoshikawa.
Right.
And just fascinated by Musashi and his character and just his life, because it's really incredible. He was a philosopher, was the greatest samurai that ever lived, founded a school. I mean, all sorts of different things. Even wrote books that are still published today, so all sorts of things. But I was just fascinated by him as a character. So that's what started that one. My love for Ethiopian coffee, especially natural processed Ethiopian coffee, kind of led me to the other scent. So I wish I have been to these places, but I have not been to those places.
Well, you made them seem really real by the scent.
But I do study when if I make a fragrance that's based on, that's called our origin series. So if it's Japan, I try to include or incorporate a lot of things that come from, the region. So.
Right.
Oh, cool. Oh, Foxy Matt used Sedama today.
Yeah, hey, nice. Foxy Matt's on board.
Nice.
So your Gentleman series is fabulously eclectic, from Jackie Robinson to Ernest Hemingway. When you conceive the soap, do you start with the man and then create the scent, or do you create the scent and then find the man to go with it?
So it's gone actually both directions.
Oh.
So I like to read a lot. So like with Ernest, just kind of knowing his, the things that he liked. So and particular areas that he lived and those kinds of things. I'm like, when I knew that I wanted to do a scent based on Ernest, or when I thought about that, I mean, it was him first, and I was like, oh, well, this isn't going to be that difficult. I kind of have a pretty good direction where I want to go with that. That was the same with George. Actually, in general, most of those first five were kind of the man first. In general, they were, yeah. Musashi would be the only one that, it was more about, being fascinated about him as a person, but also wanting to do something based on Japan. So it was kind of dual. But yeah, all those first original five were really the man first. So
that's funny.
Do
you think you would ever make a woman scent? I know you have the men's series, but if you did, do you have somebody in mind?
So
May West.
I haven't necessarily thought of doing one yet. I would say that there are some of our fragrances that are definitely unisex.
Yes. Oh, you like that?
And I don't want to give too many details about that the personal one away too, but that one is more unisex than anything we've ever done. And I think some people might say that it leans feminine, but it's not like sweet or anything like that. It's just not an overtly masculine fragrance. But I'll wear it all day long. So.
Yeah, that's great. No, there's tons of those that I wear all the time. From your pending bar, which we're sure helped inspire some of your boozy scents that we know of, but are there top 3 most gentlemanly drinks that you could, like, instead of gentlemen's not soaps, are there some
what are the top 3 most gentlemanly drinks you can think of?
Oh gosh, I would, and I haven't done these as fragrances, so I would say almost number 1. So I think the old fashioned is so common that it's almost like it would be not cliche to be, but it would be almost like I would actually go in the direction of a Manhattan, and probably even more specifically a black Manhattan. I'm not sure if you know the difference.
I don't. My Vegas drink was a brandy Manhattan. I don't know what a black Manhattan is.
So in a black Manhattan, all you're really doing is you're swapping the vermouth for an Amaro. So it's darker, more bitter, more aromatic. Probably typically what I use in that is a Amaro called a Verna. But
Wow.
yeah, so it's basically swapping one ingredient. So instead of the vermouth, you're using an Amaro. Yep.
Right.
Wow.
Hey, Sinatra Lennon's here.
I know.
We had a package delivered today, Sinatra. We'll be texting you a little bit later tonight.
We will.
All right. So, yeah. If you, we need one more. Your third most gentlemanly drink of all time. If a pure dandy walked up to your bar, what would you make him?
Oh man, so gentlemanly. Man, there's so many. So I guess another one. I mean, you probably got to go. When I think of gentlemanly, I mean probably sticking to the classics. So I would probably say a Vucare.
Oh.
Very nice.
Very boozy.
Okay.
Actually, all those are very boozy, to be honest. Super strong. Yeah.
Love it. Okay, so here's an interesting question. If you could go back, this is kind of an interesting way of asking what you've learned in all of this time. If you could go back to the very first day of Gentleman's Nod and you could give yourself one sentence of advice, what would it be?
Be patient.
Did. Ah. Okay.
Good advice.
I have a lot of enthusiasm. So, and you know, I mean, I like to, I just have a ton of passion and enthusiasm, and you know, it's funny because, like, you know, sometimes you need, you know, somebody else to, like, you know, bounce things off of and put you in check a little bit, like say, all right, well, let's think about this, or, you know, this or that, or, you know, other things like that. And I would probably say that. Yeah.
Okay. So, where are we? Sorry, we have a lot of questions here. We're being very official. What's the difference between a perfume designer and a perfume executor? Because we've kind of heard you talk about both. And to us, you're a fabulous perfumer. Like, you have that nose.
Yeah,
but you've said you're a designer.
I'm a designer.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
So,
does that mean?
so the perfumers, so I work with Mon to make our fragrances, and they have the perfumers. They have some of the best perfumers in the world, but which is really quite amazing and a privilege to work with them. And you know, most of them are actually super. You know, the ones that I've gotten to speak to are super cool too. And so I will come up with the concept and the idea, and from there I provide them with a brief. And normally in a brief, you kind of describe the scent. You could describe the scent in different ways. You can give them a story, a vision, a feeling. You can describe the scent in different ways. So I
That
do
was
all
actually our next question: is what is a brief, and what does the Musashi brief look like?
Yeah.
Like,
So you do that in so you can, you know, I do usually provide like all of those. I usually give them a story, a feeling, but I also, because I have created scents on my own, like before the original 5, and I do a lot of research, not just online, but actually getting raw materials and smelling them. And I do a lot of tinkering with some of our product fragrances.
Okay.
So when I get our raw oil back from Mon, I will a lot of times try to highlight certain notes, because some of the ingredients, say in the soap, can mask certain ingredients or certain of the notes, particularly the ones that are lighter. So I'll sometimes try to fortify those, or just so I'll try to see how they come out first, and then you know, do I need to tweak this, that, here, there. So I have some of that experience too. So a lot of times I will give them actually notes too, which not necessarily not a lot of designers do that. And Musashi is sort of the I guess the outlier in that example. because I actually gave them pretty much every single note, which
Wow.
they've never really seen before. But that being said, I wouldn't have been able to make it. So it's, you know, even though every single note that like ended up in it, I had given to them in a brief, I wouldn't have been able to put that together like that. Okay. So, you know, they've trained for years. Most of them have, you know, gone to school, then they've done apprenticeships, and they've been in this for years. And when you get to the level where you're a perfumer with Mon, you're even further on in your career. And, you know, like I said, they have some of the best perfumers in the world.
Wow,
so,
right.
Yeah.
Now, the
story for Musashi. So there was, you know, that part of the brief. I actually gave him all the notes, but the story was essentially you're, you know, walking, you're in Japan, you're walking, you know, near the coast, and then you have some of those, the citruses, the yuzus, the lighter kind of, scents come in, and then, you know, you're kind of walking more, you know, inland and also, you know, up in elevation as you get the tea notes in there. And then, you know, continuing on, going even further up into elevation, you'll have some of the evergreens and some of the like ancient forests come into play. And so that's kind of the part of the story that was given along with those. Yeah.
It's a hero's journey.
There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, knowing that hindsight is 2020, and that we are sort of very curious about the trends in shaving.
Yes.
Knowing that they have had to close most of their stores, what is something that the Art of Shaving might have done differently to put them on every street corner today? Or is there something?
Right. Could they have done anything different?
You know, the part of it is like, I think, you know, what was sad, I think, to me was that they were so well positioned, and they were everywhere, and they were ubiquitous, and they had such also like brand recognition.
Right.
You know, like so many people knew who they were, and I just think that there were certain things, you know, maybe growing too big too fast, you know, you know, a lot of that is business decisions too, like, you know, talking about leases, signing, you know, leases that were for too much, you know, I mean, some of that is like, you know, not necessarily shaving related, to be honest.
Right.
But, you know, so there are a lot of those decisions, but I think that they sort of had their own ideas of what they wanted to do and what they wanted the company to be, and they didn't really take into account what their customers wanted.
Right.
Ah, interesting.
Right.
Okay.
So that, I would say from that perspective, that's what I would say the mistake there.
Yeah, you were in the trenches, so you kind of got a different perspective than just from the outside. So, but for our next one, every artist approaches his or her canvas differently, and Stephen King says his ideas fall out of the clear blue sky. What is your very first step in creating a fragrance, and then what is your final step in that process?
Yeah, so when I'm creating a fragrance, a lot of times, so inspiration, you know, as a creative, inspiration can strike anywhere at any time. I'll usually carry like a notebook or something, you know, with me. So if I have something, I'll just write it down really quickly. For me, a lot of the initial inspiration and even working through some of it comes to me like actually at church during worship, which is so people see me writing down notes when we're supposed to be singing, and so like I can't even tell you how many. I mean, like a lot. So I will start, you know, with, you know, a scent note or an idea or something like that, and just continue to work on it. And I don't really ever press or push it. I just let things go. And, you know, if I start thinking about it a little bit again, then other things, you know, may pop into my head. But I never try to push those things because I don't want it to be like a like I'm trying to push something out just because it's, you know, a business thing. I want the inspiration to be natural.
Yeah, more
and
organic process.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And now we've kind of
Musashi was very different though on that side of things too. Because Musashi woke me up at night multiple times.
The dreams.
I would wake up with scent notes and write them down.
Right. Yeah. And you won an award for that one, right?
Not Musashi, no, but I mean it's hands down our bestseller.
Sadama, and then
was it Sadama?
And then Bluegrass Muse was there
Bluegrass
one
Muse,
too?
right?
Bluegrass Muse, was got the best spring fragrance at the Pineapples, the Golden Pineapple Fragrance Festival, and then Sadama was actually just a finalist, but I mean that's a pretty big award, the Art and Olfaction Awards. So
that's really cool. Okay.
We kind of started our show as just corn-fed newbies, and we kind of about halfway through noticed a big difference between homages or you know dupes to perfume houses and original shaving soap fragrances. And you know even with Gentleman's Nod, I would venture to say there's a vast difference for me between like the way that a perfuming house would put their scents together. It's almost like they're trying to hide their scent notes and create a vibe. But with the shaving soap world, I kind of find that they're celebrating those scent notes and breaking them open and inviting you to discover them in new ways. Am I totally off base on this? Or is there a difference between the perfuming houses and the shaving soap perfuming houses?
So I guess it depends. Like if you're talking about, you know, in some ways, if I was creating a, it really depends, because I think the process is pretty different for me working with Mon, and I am actually creating a fragrance in mind as, you know, a wearable, you know, perfume first, but I guess that's a hard question to answer, because I do see that a lot of artisans, I mean, it's probably different for every artisan, but a lot of artists, I mean, some artisans do want to highlight, you know, something in particular sometimes, and maybe make things, you know, more simplistic. And when I say simplistic, that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because one of my, I'm trying to even remember the name of it, but it was one of Barrister and Mann's fragrances, but it was, they did a, like a lesser expensive version called Lather years ago. And there's I'm trying to remember the soap, but I loved the fragrance, and it was like 3 notes. You know, so you know, something like that, you know, simplistic doesn't necessarily mean that it's not appealing or it's not, you know, well done. Or
I think that's what I mean. I mean, it is a little undescribable, but you're right. I think we have found that the shaving soap world is more likely to do those 3 scent notes and do them amazing and let you experience those harmonies, rather than throwing a 200 scent note blend at you, because like what's in Calvin Klein's Obsession, I have no idea.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's another it's another good point that you bring up, because like, so, you know, with our fragrances, we have, I mean, you can see the scent notes that we have listed. That's not everything that's in there.
Okay.
There's actually a lot more in there than that, but it's not necessarily, you know, thousands or, you know, whatever like that, but it is actually more complex than, I'm giving you the most notable, you know, so that's, yeah, the things that are probably in quantities that you're going to notice.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. We know you're taking some time out from visiting with your dad in town to hang out with us, but is there anything fun or cool that you can say about your dad?
Yeah,
Fun
tell us something
memory
cool
or-
about your dad. Embarrass him a little bit.
So, we didn't, so I didn't actually grow up with my dad. I met my dad when I was older, 11. But funny story, I did actually meet him when I was 2 years old. The trip that I was telling you about to Canada, the kind of the personal one, my grandma might have snuck me in to visit my dad because my dad wanted to see me, and my grandma's like, yeah. So, but no, so I used to go up and visit him in Canada, like, after that, like pretty much every year. So what was really funny is it was kind of one of those things where it's like, say if you had twins separated at birth, and you're like, oh my gosh, this person we're like really alike. I mean, we had a similar sense of humor, like the same laugh. I mean, so those kinds of things. So there was that. I went up to actually live with him after I graduated from high school for a year. So got to spend more time with him. But I would say now we are quite different. My dad's a cowboy. Not this kind of cowboy, but like, he lives in the interior of British Columbia in a log cabin.
Very cool.
Rides horses all the time.
In shavers, from what we know.
Yeah,
So
we might know some of his neighbors. That's cool.
Right?
Yeah. So, and he has a 180-degree view of the valley and the mountains beyond too, which is like, so he placed this cabin on the property that he bought up there, and then there was this big aspen forest on the property, and he decided to clear the aspens out of there. And what he noticed when he cleared the aspens is he now had a 180-degree view of like this huge valley, and then beyond, the mountains beyond, and it was just like, wow. Like, so from the front porch and everything, and it was like, and he didn't really know that before he placed the cabin in that particular way. And so,
Right.
yeah.
Wow. Very cool. So, y'all, last call for questions. We have a couple
Leave a few
already.
in here.
Put them in the question box for Chris. Now, lastly, our last question for you is an obligatory one that we ask everybody. Have you ever seen a ghost?
Have I ever seen a ghost? Not that I know of.
Yeah. Okay, there you go.
It's not a no. It's
Right.
just not a no.
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't think so. I wouldn't say I've even had that many weird experiences like that, to be honest. I don't think.
Right. All right, into the question box we go. We're starting with Spot Prince.
Spot Prince. As an artisan, how do you maintain your expectations of perfection versus throughout the production process? I think that you're one of the most detail-oriented brands in this industry, and I would love to know your take on this.
That's very hard, because I think, in general, I think as a creative, most creatives are probably more insecure about their creations than they let on. And a lot of them are perfectionists, and it's like, obviously you can't make everyone happy all the time, and that's not even necessarily what I'm trying to do. But I do want things obviously to be well received. If something is not well received, I don't feel like I've done my job. So I'm not not only having like a hit from a business standpoint, I feel like I'm letting people down, and which hurts more. So in that sense, so I guess what I would say is like I don't want to ever really put anything out there just to do it. If it's not right, it doesn't it's not going to go out. From a fragrance standpoint, from, anything else, I want to make sure things are done right. It's kind of funny. I do have some people that help me from time to time. I have my wife's brother, or my wife's brother, his wife works for me. And so she does a lot of labeling and things like that. And so we have talks about how the labels need to look, because people are going to take pictures of these and they're going to be like, they're going to show them on camera. And it's like, so you see that bubble? Yeah, no.
Yeah,
take that label off, redo it. Yeah. So there's a lot of that. And so I think the process even goes to not just developing a fragrance or a formula. It's also on presentation. Like I don't want something going out if I don't see it, then it might happen from time to time. But if I see it, no,
right,
it's coming off.
But you can tell, like your branding and everything really does fit that street, like nice looking, clean. It catches your eye immediately. Yeah. So it's very obviously whatever your final thumbprint that you're putting on stuff.
Doesn't this just look like it would belong in a gentleman's library? It's just beautiful. It looks like the little seal and like a library stamper or something. It's just beautiful.
So we also have really our illustrator, who actually lives in Canada too, does fantastic work. Yeah, that was hand drawn.
No way, really?
Yeah. So is Kensei. All that stuff is hand drawn, and I definitely, that was hand drawn. So I pay him. I pay for these things. Like it's right. Not cheap, actually. That was not hand drawn. That's the only one that we have that was not hand drawn. Yeah.
Wow.
This is the one. Her grandmother is actually from this region in Spain.
Yeah, so we had to get that one.
So this one really resonates with her.
It does.
So, that helps too. And our graphic designer. So we have the illustrator and the graphic designer, and the graphic designer is the one that puts the illustrations on labels and stuff like that. But he's fantastic too. So.
Oh my goodness. Barbershop Duet and Gentleman's Nod, if you collaborated on a project, what set notes would you like to use? We are not worthy. We are not ready to have this conversation. No, we are 380 soaps in, I think, and we are just now learning how little we know about all
Somehow,
of this.
the more we smell, we're
Although,
like, wow.
I will tell you, folks, there is this new one that came out recently that is absolutely fantastic. What can you tell us about this one?
So, again, another collaboration with the guys over at BBS Live, this time with Brandon Shaves as well. But, I think it's not, it's not that a fragrance with them has to have a booze element to it, but, it's part of kind of what they're doing. Yeah. So usually it does, but they really wanted to do something that was, the number one requirement was lemon. So, so that's kind of where we started the conversation. And then I'm always thinking through cocktails, especially knowing that it was going to be a boozy scent. And Matt, it's Passion Poivre.
That one.
Passion Poivre.
Yeah.
No, everyone practice. Okay.
That is not how we said it in our review episode. I apologize.
So, I was thinking about that, and there's a great tiki cocktail that's lemon and passion fruit are the two main aspects of the cocktail, but it also has a spice element because there's a liqueur called falernum in it. So we added the pepper in there, and the pepper is unique. I watched some of your video about it. You were talking about the pepper. So the pepper is similar to Szechuan pepper.
Okay, cool.
But it has more of a citrus nuance to it. Okay. So it really highlights citruses very well.
Right.
and there is a ton of that pepper in that, but it's not overly peppery because it's such a unique pepper. It's when you think of it, it's not like a black pepper or anything like that. It's not spicy in that sense, or not, spicy in the sense, more like Szechuan or anything like that. It's really a great and unique pepper, which kind of made the fragrance.
There are a lot of Szechuan restaurants around here. We're super lucky, and it's almost like an incensey sort of a pepper for me. I love.
The other things that I know you're picking up on things like they were going a little bit maybe darker and then woods. So there's a thread once you get kind of into the mid of that fragrance that with more of this saffron can give a little bit of a leather vibe to it, but there's actually a leather note in there too, and so there's a real duality in depth and complexion to that fragrance. It starts off super bright, fresh, tart, and then fairly quickly transitions into the leather and woods. So it's like I said, it's kind of like a tropical drink on the beach during the day, and then oh wait, now we're at dinner in white linen. You know what I mean? It's like got that duality.
It does.
100%. Foxy Matt would like to know, when is the next Gentleman's Knot release?
You have to tell us what it is. But
you have to tell us what it is. But is there a month?
So right now we just we're doing a collaboration with Carbon Shaving. So
nice.
Sean at Carbon just posted it on Friday. But that's going to be October 4th.
Oh shoot!
So very soon, and so that's going to be the first of 3 fragrances we did with master perfumer Claude Durr at Mon. So,
can you tell us about it?
So essentially, we're playing on the theme of Damascus. So Damascus is the name of the fragrance, but because he's a razor maker and has used Damascus steel a lot. But we are also kind of pulling in. I'm not giving all the scent notes out yet, but we're pulling in a lot of notes that maybe would have been around in a Damascus market in, say, the 1500s. So it's a classic. It's a classic masculine fragrance, and
nice,
as well as the other 2 that will be coming later from Claude Durr.
Trilogy.
Wow, stay tuned, folks. Good things come in 3s.
Good thing you asked, folks.
Yeah, Angela would like to make sure that you have good tacos available to you in Omaha. Yes.
So there's an area in Omaha, South Omaha, predominantly Hispanic area, but they have some fantastic spots there. So there is good Mexican food. Well, I guess I can't say that. There's not everywhere, but here.
Right.
But in general, not like Southern California.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Right.
We get our Christmas tamales out of the trunk of a car, and they're the best things we've ever had. Okay,
yeah.
Oh, here we go. Did you experience a scent in Mexico to inspire an upcoming soap scent?
Possibly in horchata.
I have no idea what that means.
I did not, but I do also get inspiration from things that I read. So
that's funny. I had one last question written down here. Can you tell us what your favorite book is at the moment?
Gosh, one of my, I don't know what I'm revealing about myself if I say that my favorite book is from Hemingway, The Sun Also Rises, because it's like it's a group of friends, essentially a group of friends that go to see the running of the bulls in Spain, but it's like, they're always drinking and partying, and and it takes place in like the early 1900s, and it's like, but it's not necessarily. That's fun, sure, but it's not. That's not exactly what I like about it. It's like Hemingway has the ability. He's one of the best storytellers out there, but he has this ability of when you read something from Hemingway, it's not like you're not reading a book. You are in the story, sitting there in the cafe or the bar, watching this happen. I can't tell you how else I can describe it other than that's like a lot of authors don't have that ability. We'll just say that. So
right.
That is our next soap, by the way, is Ernest. So
yes, it's
nice.
it is. Yeah. Did we cover all of our questions?
So,
let me dive in and make sure.
Do you have any questions for us, Chris? You don't have to, but I know. It's a good conversation.
I mean, you guys have probably already said this, but and you might have even told me, which is really bad. But
that's
how
okay.
did you guys? Speaking
at the beginning. So
speaking of the fact that you just got engaged, how did you guys meet?
Oh, we just kind of we both taught at the same school at the same time,
which was
just kind of got to know each other through church a little bit, and
which is what school?
What's that?
What school? What school was that?
Oh, a bunch. St. John's, Salesian.
There's a few in our area.
Yeah,
there's overlapping.
There's a bunch.
Oh, the school though.
Salesian.
Oh, okay.
Was where we were both teaching.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
There are some
Gotcha.
sister schools or something in Southern California that's connected to
right.
that same.
Sure.
So you might.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I was married before to somebody who had a really awful mental illness, and it's a whole nother episode of that we'll talk about. So yeah, once that really fell apart, I was alone for a while, and then I kind of started talking to her back, and she was living in Los Angeles at the time, and we just kind of started texting each other and got to know each other a little bit more.
Yeah,
and
organically.
Just kind of went from there, and then
we've known each other for a long time. But...
And we're both from show business. I come from the theater world.
I could not tell that. I would have never guessed.
Big surprise, right? So yeah, mostly like musical comedies, like The Producers and Hairspray and stuff like that. And then she came from the dance world, and so with the lockdown, we both kind of got kind of bored, and you know, the performing arts worlds really fell away, so we didn't really have our communities in the same way.
But it was fun to find a project that we could both do together. Like we both didn't know much about the scent world, so it's kind of fun for us to dive into a new project. And it brings out, oddly, like how you were talking about the artistry of scents. Like I think for me, mine's more visual with dance, and then for Marcus, for like you listen to music. So it's fun for us to see how scent can be an artistry. And we did not expect to dive in, clearly 380 soaps later. But it's fun for us to use our senses on something that we're both learning together. If that makes sense.
And we're sort of both trained in improv to just like let something come in our senses and then let it come out our mouth. Yeah. And there's like famous exercises like that just to kind of help you on stage. But we realized that as soon as we smell something like this, words come in. Yeah. And we are kind of able to actually start describing, especially if we work together, to actually try to do the undoable, and that's describe these amazing scents in words.
Since we can't just through a video, we have to explain it.
And then I worked for a funeral home for decades, and I would have to drive the van for my dad, especially if the windows were closed. Your nose gets a little skewed in one direction. So, you know, being able to now explore the more beautiful parts of the scent world is a really nice way to offset those couple of decades that I spent smelling not so nice stuff all day long.
These are wonderful friends.
So when somebody says, do you like them all? Yeah, pretty much. If you've driven that van with me for 20 years, you probably would too. We every once in a while, if we get something like Yule Ham or, you know, something that's kind of fun or meant to be a little weird, we'll do it on Instagram Live, and we'll call it the Nifty Soap Series.
But you're so far.
But I don't think you're going to be seeing any gentlemen anytime soon.
I love that. I love that about fragrance too. How like a lot of times I'll associate a fragrance with a color or a texture or, you know, those kinds of things. So it's not just like, you know, your one scent. You know, you said this soap is absolutely this color, and I told him that I told the illustrator the same thing. I said, this soap is this color, so I need this color.
That's the one we need.
Absolutely.
But it
Yeah.
is fun for us to see, like, you know, what is on the label. It's like little clues. Like for me,
Movie posters.
right? It's like the movie poster. If I'm
Yeah.
choreographing a dance, that's the title I'm going to give it because I want to give the audience a clue. So it is really funny where things do oddly overlap that we weren't expecting.
Right. And other than the perfume world, I mean, where are you going to find these beautiful, it's like an art museum in our bathroom where you can just explore these beautiful places or set
Spend
notes.
time as you're lathering. Like you just get to
Right.
escape into
Yeah.
those places that you take.
Right. Or just, you know, what you think he smelled like. That's also
Sure.
what I love. It's
Yeah.
like, if I'm going to come up with this, it's going to be crappy. I want to know what somebody awesome would come up with to know what Johnny would smell like or Jackie would smell like.
Sure. Do you have I'm sort of putting you on the spot here, but your engagement story, how did you ask?
Oh,
Well, I had planned.
What did you just say? Here, I got this ring.
Well, right, yeah. I had planned it to happen right before lockdown.
it was like literally would have been right before.
Wow.
I had her help me design the ring because I wanted to make sure she loved it.
So you've had this for like a long time?
Yeah, my goddaughter owns a jewelry store and she helped us like design it. But I just kind of kept expecting it to be over and it wasn't. And then she got diagnosed with Crohn's disease and then my mom died and she got Alzheimer's. Just everything like just kept happening.
Wow.
And
I
just
had
got,
heart surgery.
and
Like
then
it was
she had
just
heart surgery and she was on so it just got bananas.
we had to hold on tight for a few
Right.
years.
But what I was gonna do, my initial plan was I was gonna have somebody book her for a dance class down the street at her studio where she teaches.
Perfect.
And when she got there, all of her family and friends were gonna be there in dance wear. And then I was gonna come out in like, you know, leg warmers and an 80s dance outfit. And I was going to propose in front of everybody, and then we were going to learn a combination that we were going to perform at the reception. So we could all kind of learn how to dance that day and just kind of have a big party and a barbecue and stuff.
That's so cool.
Well, then the whole world went to hell, and we had to completely rethink that. So I decided that with her personality, it was kind of a little bit better to go in the other direction. And if we couldn't go big, we would go small. So her family has a little cabin totally off the grid. It's an hour of off-roading just to get there.
Like Indiana Jones ride, like you
Right.
go off
Yeah.
the grid.
It's crazy. And so it was just us and her parents, and it was out on the deck where she kind of spent her childhood, and we played dominoes, which was her grandpa's favorite game. And I'm kind of a little old-fashioned, so, you know, I asked their permission, and they seemed happy about it. So I said, well, you know, I did bring the ring, so I just went and got it. And there's just something about
That's awesome.
my beloved personality, where something about being off the grid, where no one's going to be filming you, no one's going to be screaming. You know, you don't have to go on and immediately post about it. You could just sort of savor the moment,
just revel in our moments,
right?
Kind of
You know, just kind of look up at the stars and just kind of be together that first night, and not have to have anybody know, and except her parents who were important. And, you know, so I don't know. That was just kind of my plan B, but it worked out really well.
No, I think I actually like that more somehow, like just a more like personal moment. There is something different about sharing it with everyone, but I think it's nice for us to have our wedding, to have that, to be like a big party with everybody.
Right.
So
How did you ask your wife?
So I had a mutual friend from church, one of Leslie's friends, invite her to lunch at a restaurant, a very nice restaurant, but which she thought was a little weird, but that overlooked the Bataquitos Lagoon in La Costa Aviara area, but we were kind of running partners first. So we used to run at Bataquitos Lagoon. So it's overlooking this lagoon where we used to run at. And so I had a friend take her there for lunch. And then I had organized with the restaurant earlier. I borrowed somebody's clothes and dressed up like a waiter.
brilliant.
So, and I had a menu made, like a custom menu. So I came out like, you know, behind her and just kind of put, you know, placed the menu kind of in front of her, and she's like looking at it like, what is this? Like, what? Because it had all these things. I like wrote her different things, and like, and then, you know, when it came down to like, I mean, I had this thing memorized, right? I came down to it. I like went down on my knee and I was like completely blank. I couldn't speak. Like, and that's never happened to me. Like, and what I was gonna say, actually, I had that written on the menu too. So I'm like, I just pointed and I said, "Read that."
I meant to do
read that.
I planned this all along. Yes, this is part of it.
So, and then she was like, and then I was just standing there with the ring, and she's like, "Well, are you gonna put it on?" So,
that was her yes. Perfect.
Yeah.
And then she stiffed him on the tip.
Yeah.
No, she didn't.
So then I, we traded places, and I sat down and we had lunch together there, and
perfect. And then the friend was out of there. That's good. Have fun.
So
see, very original. I feel like that means something.
Yeah, I do have to mention this before we're done too, because I have seen it pop up in the comments 900 times. But boy, did this create some shockwaves, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Peaches. And you know what's funny? When she's wearing it and we're on our walk and she's in front of me like outside in the Berkeley Hills, I get a beautiful floral from it. Like
a lot of women have liked that scent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, listen, here we are at 10 after. I just want to say something personal from us to you. One of the things that I think we found this hobby, there are a lot of corollaries in this hobby that we're finally figuring out. I don't know most of them. They're sort of mysteries still, but there is something about this hobby is where all of the amazing dads are. This hobby is where all of the amazing craftsmen are. This hobby is where all of the amazing veterans are. There was just something about this hobby that brings together the most amazing people. And I think what really created our show, I mean, there's the Henson story, yeah, but I think what really created our show was that, listen, if there is somebody who is willing and able to put so much of his life into this little 5-ounce tub, here's one of the ones that's 5 ounce, 5-ounce tubs of shaving soap, just for that moment in my bathroom means something important. It means that he knows what that moment means to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of you do. And I think that's why we started this series. You are all so freaking interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You are all from so many different walks of life. 2/3 of you have full beards, which we don't understand.
Yep.
But it's not about the soap, and it never was. It's about you connecting to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how this hobby works. That is the life's blood of this hobby is us connecting to you and you sharing your memories and your experiences with us. So this little series is just kind of a way for us to say thank you for this weirdly knowing exactly what we need in our bathrooms to have that 15 minutes of sanity that is so important to us, this ritual every morning. So I guess we just wanted to say that without you and devoting your life to this, we wouldn't be able to do this. None of these awesome degenerates here tonight would have all of these amazing experiences that they've had with all of these wonderful dudes or all these really
fighting for their favorites.
Cool places, right? And it is one of the most absolutely amazing, safe bases in the industry. And I don't want to understate that, because when you are standing with a razor blade in your hand, the one thing that kept me out of this hobby for 20 years was the worried I was going to cut myself. But with this on my face, it's the last thing I worry about. So thank you so much for doing what you do. Thank your family for letting you. Thank you for having that dream and knowing to follow it. I feel like if we all did that, this world would be a much different place.
Just to make sure you fill your tank with our thank yous, because I know there's parts of this business and slaving through it and patience, like you said, it is a lot of work. But we want to make sure that you know it's worth it, that we really are enjoying getting whiffs of these wonderful little pieces whenever we want.
So at 1 a.m, when you're reading a cranky email, just know that there's a few dozen degenerates on here today that just love everything you do. And
super great.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate what you guys do too. We communicated like really early on when you guys started, and I just remember like the first time I saw your content. I mean, not only the production value was fantastic, but it was like these guys are so upbeat and happy, and like energy level too. I was just like, and I was talking to my wife and my dad like right before we got on there, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to, because we were watching one of your YouTube videos right before we got on, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to match the energy level, but but so
I think you did.
Absolutely love what you guys do too, and it's different and unique, and I think everyone that contributes in this community is important. But what you guys do is really unique. So I
Thank you, buddy.
appreciate that too.
Thank you. And as a closing thought, Sloppy Badger just took credit for everything you've ever done.
Yeah, you can go chat with him about that later.
So there you go. Apparently, John made all of these.
But
He also apparently doesn't like the fact that I'm a Cowboys fan, but I've been a Cowboys fan since like, I'm talking about like since like 1990. So I mean, he's
been dedicated for a few years.
Right. Hey, so thank you for spending this time with us.
Yeah, we're so grateful.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
keep us updated on all your adventures, and maybe we could do this again after the new year.
Yeah, thank you
Absolutely.
guys so much for hanging out with us.
All right.
All right, thanks.
Have a great
again,
night, guys.
Everybody have a wonderful night. Thank you all for being here with us. We will see you on Wednesday for our new episodes that are dropping on Wednesday. What do we have dropping on Wednesday?
We got a few more before the spookiness, but as you can see, we've got our spider webs.
Yeah, we've been filming our Halloween episodes, y'all, so it's going to be a great Halloween.
It will. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
All right, take care, everybody. Good night. We'll see you soon. Take care.